All right, so the other channel that I have that I do with Emily, the Tube channel, that usually has more scripted things in there, right? And I wanted to do more videos more regularly, so I said, you know what, hey, I thought it out for a while, like months, year plus, and the solution I came up with was that instead of shoehorning everything into one, I would spread it out. So it's like, okay, hey, you know, we can do a video like we always do, stick to same schedule, a bit more scripted, at least once a week. And then for my fix, I guess, to get more videos up, because that's the thing I always want. I want to get more videos up, but I wasn't always sure what the hell to talk about or what have it about or to make it a series. What's the series going to be about? So I'd overthink a lot of things, and I'd end up not putting anything out. If you look at the history of stuff, it'll be like sporadic, and then some breaks, and then hopping, you know, one a month, one a month. I don't know, whatever. But the thing is, it's so tricky to figure out like a series off the bat or what you want to do off the bat, even as you're doing it, because there's limitations as to how much you could go into a particular topic, like how much a particular topic generates new things for it to talk about. Like, say you go into something like volleyball, right? You start off, you start talking about volleyball, maybe you do some how to's, maybe you cover some matches, maybe you go to some tournaments. And then you talk about how you got into volleyball. You talk about coming up with ideas for what you can make videos on, especially if you make them regularly, like very regularly, it gets tricky. And if you get into news, that's different, right? News, like there's always news to be had. You could always, that's self-renewing. That's like, all right, wake up, what happened today? Oh, something happened. You got something to talk about. But you know, maybe you don't want to talk about that exactly. You maybe kind of want to talk about something else. Maybe you kind of want to make something different, but you have a little bit of an idea, but you're not sure how far it's gonna go. And that can be really a big mental hurdle to get over. Like today in particular, I was really struggling about. Like I usually like to do these before I go to work, or at least have a couple done, so I could queue them up and schedule them in YouTube. But I couldn't really like I was looking over the things I had, and some were off limits because I have to do them with Emily, and some topics just blanks, just drawing blanks. But it's such a good thing to say about the creative process where you could if you could talk about the creative process. Like I was watching some Gary Vaynerchuk over the weekend, and he had this one video where he talked more about documenting instead of creation. Not really documenting instead of creation, but if you like putting out lots of content, you want to document some. You want to have elements of documentation in there. And I got what you're saying because it's a big stumbling block to get caught up in trying to create something fresh all the time. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but it it's really hard to do consistently. And sometimes you just drop like you really like, especially when you're getting close to deadlines or all right, this has got to go out. You're like close to the limit. And you're like, okay, I gotta have something out. I gotta have something out, and you can't think of anything. And oh my God, oof, it's really hard. It's the point. It's really hard is the point, and the other point is don't don't let it stop you. Like I I used to be super perfectionist about anything. There's a lot of things I've worked on that I've kind of not quite or like I've not quite finished in the sense that thinking back on it, it was actually good enough to go out. Like, say I did a design for something, or I started sketching out an idea, and I started feature creeping, where I started to make the scope bigger and bigger. So I had like a small focused idea, and then I was like, oh, maybe I could make it, maybe I could add this in, or maybe I could add this in, and then it gets so big that it never gets done, and being cognizant of those things that could happen, like, oh, this could actually just grow in scope till it gets unmakeable, in a sense. Like, you can, like, it's like making a movie, and you have a $20,000 budget, and you have these things. It's like, oh, you're making starting to like flesh it out, and you're like, oh, maybe I could put this in, or we could put this in. Oh, I need more money for that. I need more shoots for that. And for my background as, going to school for design, web graphic design, campaigns, communications, they talk about working creatively within constraints, like design under constraints. Like, hey, you learn this about a project and you have to work with it. And however your thing turns out, you have to make it work within the boundaries you're given or the limitations you have, whether it's something your client says, like, oh, you can only use these three colors, or you have to give me something I can use within 5 days. Or if it's something on your side, like, say, you know Illustrator really well, but you don't know Photoshop as well as you know Illustrator, and you have to like make what your work comes out, what work comes out of you shine with your strengths and working with your weaknesses at the same time. So it's tricky, but it's something that you'll learn a lot from. I've learned a lot from as well. I've learned a lot from it. Just committing to an outcome and not getting too tied up with it. Like, I feel like your brain really comes up with things. Like, your brain will, you know, you said, hey, I want to have this done and I'll learn along the way. And your brain will say, okay, let's go there. And that's the simplest way I could put it. I hope this helps you. It's just things I think about a lot because I was really close to not putting out something today, and I said I was going to put out something. My goal is to put out something every day, but I don't want to put out crap at the same time. So, hope this helps. Talk to you tomorrow.